What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Lasting Thoughts Podcast. I am your host, Digital Relaxation, and we are back again for another episode. And once again, as always, if you guys enjoy what you hear and what you're going to hear, please be sure to share and rate this podcast. You can rate the podcast on Apple or Spotify. The podcast also is available on YouTube. It's audio only, but it's a way that you can comment on the videos. Also, when I do my question of the days, you can respond and whatever else you would like to do. But so before I go into all my usual stuff, just things I want to get out the way. This is not so much what I've been up to, just so much what the world been up to. First thing first, like, just saying this broadly, that we need to get rid of child actors, like, because there's too much going on out here with people preying on kids, and it becomes a issue of who's really the bad guy in the situation, because it's like, just like, they're in this industry and people take advantage of them, but it's like, should they be in this industry in the first place? Like, why allow your kids to do this? Why not, I understand, because I know there's those people who want to live through their kids or whatever, like, they didn't succeed somewhere, so they want to, like, push their kids to do something that they couldn't do so they can live that life that they felt they missed out on. But some things should not be it. Like, I'm not going to deep dive into this, but I feel like child actors shouldn't really be a thing. I feel like they should go through the same process of school, which I'm sure obviously that's what they do. You go through theater and whatnot, but I feel like you shouldn't, like, be in the industry until you're of age, 18 to 21. Like, you're forcing kids to be adults the moment they become, like, child celebrities. Like, now you're putting them in this space where they have to learn how to be responsible. They gotta learn how to keep an image, and all they want to do is just be kids. And then you have cases like Michael Jackson, who he lost his childhood, and then the moment he started to, like, I want to, like, relive my childhood properly and start doing things that I missed out on my childhood, people start looking at him different, because, like, oh, you're a grown man, but you're, like, doing kid stuff and hanging around kids. And it's like, yeah, because I didn't have the chance to do this when I was a kid. Like, don't rob your kids of their childhood, man. Just let them naturally progress. If they want to go the acting route, and let them progress through school. But obviously there's more ways to go about it. I can't just say let's just get rid of child actors altogether. Obviously there's going to be some ways, like, oh, like, you're playing a role, but I mean, you could write it out, but still, like, you're playing a role, and it's like, obviously, to give certain characters, like, certain depth, like, oh, so it's a revenge action drama, whatever, like, oh, this guy is, like, trying to threaten to hurt my family, and obviously if we see the family, then we have more stock in him fighting for his family. So yes, in a sense, we see that, oh, he has a kid, but they shouldn't be the focal point. Like, just put them in, like, 2 scenes and that's it. But yeah, the other thing, with things going on with Puff Daddy, P Diddy, the diddler, the stuff that he's been doing and accused of doing and whatnot. And again, similar situation with acting, like, people who want to get into the music business. Now, this one is more tricky, because this one isn't really, like, you can't necessarily blame your parents for this, because being an artist is a personal talent. Not everyone can make music, not everyone can play instruments or whatever. So I think it's just your best to coach them in understanding, like, when you get into the industry, like, you get somewhere, like, have, draw a line for yourself, like, things you won't do, like, even if it meant, like, I feel like you shouldn't do things to be famous. Just do things because you love them and let the reward come to you. Like, if your goal is to be famous, then obviously there's a lot of things that come with, oh, you want to be famous, you gotta do this. It's like, and it's put in, like, almost every movie. It's put in everything. Like, it's blatantly in our face, and it's like, I get surprised when it comes out, like, your favorite celebrity is doing it. It's like, Yeah, like come on. But that's all I gotta say about that. This is not the episode, or it can't be the podcast for it, but it's not the episode for it. Yeah, moving on. What I've been up to, not much, as always. I live a very normal life. But I did go to the wrestling show Raw, Monday Night Raw. It was the Raw before Mania, and it was in Brooklyn. So had to pull up there, see The Rock, Cody Rhodes, all of that good stuff. It was a cool experience. I went to I went to a few wrestling shows before, and I don't know if it's an age thing or not. I mean, I'm a casual wrestling fan now. I mean, I've always been a wrestling fan, but in terms of casual, is what I mean is like I don't sit there and watch the show. Like I'll watch highlights so I can keep up with the storyline and my favorite wrestlers. And then I'll probably watch a pay-per-view event that they hold, like WrestleMania. Like I'm gonna watch WrestleMania, but like I haven't watched like the last 3 Raws, but I'm keeping up with the story, so I can not be like, oh, why these two fighting? But I don't know if it's my age or whatever. But I feel like for me, like wrestling shows is low key overrated. Going to them live, and which is weird. I feel like going to them for me. It's like I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't a good show because there were some matches that was like that didn't need to be there, but I don't know. But like I've been to other shows before and I enjoyed. I guess I just didn't enjoy this one as much. But it is what it was. I mean, it was like I don't know. I think stories. I think it just wasn't good storytelling in that show. Like. The way it ended wasn't even a good ending. The matches that happened wasn't good matches. Well, like storytelling wise, the matches that were decent, the crowd was like dead for them, and like, it's like the crowd is very. It's like we just want to see the good stuff. Like y'all don't want to see the actual wrestling and the work being put in. Like, damn. Which I mean, WWE is known for being just spectacle. Like everything is high performance. But like, you really want to see like legit wrestling, if you care about the craft of like the wrestling, sports entertainment. Like watch New Japan or something like that, cause they really be going in. But yeah, for the most part, that's mainly what I've been up to. I mean, I've been gaming, listening to music, working. All I ever do. I want to say update on what happened with my last situation. More so update with the house next to me, because they had their house flooded due to the recent events. So people had been like coming in, I guess, cleaning up and fixing stuff, and they had like this generator running in there for like a week. So like it was mad loud because it's like right by my room, and I'm like I had to sleep to this. So I mean, I can't complain about it because it's rather I hear the generator or the generator's gonna be in my room. Like, it's a blessing and a curse. I didn't get the flooding, but I had to just bear with the ramifications of this household getting their stuff fixed. Hopefully they didn't lose nothing important and flooding because anything electrical, whatever, got damaged. And I think that's mainly about it for me personally. I've just been having, I'm not gonna talk about my dreams, but I have been having like strange dreams, or I don't know. I had a dream that left me like in thought, and I woke up late for work, and it was like, huh. But that's mostly it. And of course, my other podcast, I am doing the Spliffs and Sake podcast. That was our last recording was interesting. So we've been like talking to each other about like being able to like be more punctual with our recording and being on time and whatnot. And we were like, yeah, so we gotta just be on time. I even helped out we like give us like some talking points so we can know what we're gonna talk about, so we're not just spitballing and then the episode just happens to be long. So we recorded an episode only to find out like towards the end of the episode of recording, this dude's camera went out, and of course we couldn't see that because he didn't have, like, you know, when you have the camera and you have the screen on the side to show you what you're seeing, like, he didn't have that flipped over to us so we can see. So we just sitting there recording the whole thing going on, and like, yeah, I take a break before we go into another session and whatnot. And then he just randomly comes into the room and he's like, yeah, the camera wasn't recording. And I'm like, bruh. So it went from we punctual, we was on time, we were feeling good about it, to we ended up staying even longer than we ever planned. It's like, that was just annoying, but it is what it is, I guess. But we did get an episode out. Actually, the recent episode we just dropped Sunday, because that was another issue. He took long giving us our episode. We tried to do Saturday uploads. But that was the episode where we give our appreciation and our thanks to Akira Toriyama, who recently passed. I talked about it in the last episode. If you don't know, he's the creator of the Dragon Ball manga, which branches out to Dragon Ball Z and all of that. And, you know, being our podcast is anime based, we just talked about his impact on our lives through his work, mostly talking about Dragon Ball Z. I'm not really familiar with the other stuff he does. I've only seen like images of it, but I don't follow it. But yeah, so we just talked about Dragon Ball Z and all the ways that it influenced us, from the anime, the video games, the movies, and yeah, just everything Dragon Ball Z. And yeah, and that was it. But it is April. Interesting month, because last year April was when I had the starting of my little, I guess, seasonal depression, as I mentioned last time. So it was around my birthday time, which my birthday is gonna be coming up again. And yeah, I mean, I got something great planned. Most likely talk about it on the next episode. But actually, if I'm not mistaken, oh yeah, the next episode actually comes. The episode after this episode comes out on my birthday, so that'll be that. And I'll give a heads up, but I'll probably say it during that episode too. The episode that comes after that, which will be on May 1st, will not come out. And I'll explain that on the 17th episode. But yeah, just a heads up, there will be a episode break on the 1st. So going into a topic, I was recommended this topic. I'll try my best to talk about it. I have some insight on like talking about it in a personal aspect. But basically the topic is about finding your dream job. Ugh. And again, when I mentioned earlier, for people who, you know, they had a dream or a goal that they wanted to do and they failed at it, and then they have kids and try to thrust them into it or whatnot. That's where that gets messed up, because like I said, that should be your personal journey, finding what it is you want to do for the rest of your life. So the thing with finding a dream job is what comes with the thinking of it, and the actual, I don't know, like everything that comes before you start thinking about your dream job. So obviously, you know, we go to school, we kids, and obviously, you know, usually when kids, we had that, hey, what you want to be when you grow up, and we just say some crazy outlandish stuff. Or sometimes we just say something basic, like the most basic jobs. But then, you know, we get older, society start corrupting our minds and whatnot, and people start thinking different ways and different perspectives. And, you know, Some people feel like they should do things, and of course, with the ever expansion of technology, like certain jobs were created and expanded due to it. So such as before, like when I was a kid, like you're like, obviously the most normal jobs, like when you want to be what you want to be when you grow up, would be, the most craziest thing that would be like, oh, I want to be a president, or be an astronaut or something like that. But then, oh, I want to be a doctor, a policeman, a firefighter, whatever, like the basic jobs. But now it's like, due to social media and people posting things and living a certain life, people like, hey, I want to be a rapper. Some kids like, hey, I want to be a rapper because I see other kids doing it and getting, some kind of internet fame from it. I want to be, just a social media influencer. Just be on YouTube making videos. Be a TikToker, a streamer. Like, the things like that weren't in our description growing up. So that's where it gets tricky for like finding a dream job. The question would be, what would be a good age to ask yourself when you want to find your dream job? Because like I said, you ask your kid self now, like, hey, what you want to be when you grow up, and you didn't realize, like, we can't foresee technology getting to the point where I could say, oh, I want to get into being a professional gamer and whatnot. Like, it wasn't that huge, or if it even existed at all during like the late 90s. So it's like, yeah, stuff like, I remember, I always credit this too, to my older cousin. When I was young, I went to my cousin's house, and he has his older brothers, and he had a computer, and he was like, yeah, like, oh yeah, like he built this computer. And when I heard that sounded like the most outlandish, craziest thing ever. Like, this man built a computer, like, what? I'm like, and in my child brain, I'm just thinking of this man like in like some kind of computer factory, just like putting pieces together. I'm like, that's crazy. and I told myself that someday I want to do that. I want to build a computer as well. Only as I get older and I learn about, I get into gaming, I get into PC gaming, and learning about building your own computer as a PC gamer. And I'm like, oh, it's still tricky, but it's simple. It wasn't as crazy as I made it sound. It's just, it's doing it the first time. It takes a lot of patience, because obviously you spend a lot of money on your parts, and you don't want to, break something and you're screwed. So obviously the first, as I always tell everyone when it comes to building a PC, the first thing I ask someone when they ask me about PC building, I'm like, the first question is, how much are you willing to spend? Because some people feel like, oh, I gotta spend $3,000 on the PC. Like, no, you don't have to. There's $500 PCs. It's just a matter of what you're trying to spend, and then finding the right parts to give you the most optimal PC build for the whatever amount of money you're willing to spend. But yeah, so it comes a question of how far technology will go if you ask like your kid self what you want to be when you grow up. Like, I didn't think PC building would be so tangible when I was young to now. It's like I built two PCs now. Like, it's something I can do. And then again, like being a gamer, being an artist, being a podcaster, being a YouTuber, these are things that I thought would be far-fetched of doing, because like there's nobody really. And the funny, well, there's a thing to that. But what I was gonna say was, there wasn't really no one who was setting the blueprint in like my family of what I can do. Like, most of my family would work in the normal jobs that people like the kids my age would say. Well, when we were kids, would say we would be, that they were working those jobs. So like, yeah, that's what we want to be, because we see our parents doing it, and we see like we don't know if they're struggling or not. We just see that they're doing their best for us, and we accept what they do for us, so we see that as a good thing. So like, yeah, we want to be that too. But then there's my brother who, basketball was his passion. That was his thing. He did it since he was a kid all the way to college. And I followed in that footstep a little bit in playing basketball, but obviously by the time I got to high school, I learned that wasn't really my passion. I was just following. And again, that's why I say it's a good thing to find out when you should be asking yourself when to find a dream job. The next thing, doing music. For those who don't know, I do music, rap, and I thought that would be like the most outlandish thing to do ever, because even when I was young, I always questioned, how do people who make, you hear these artists who have like hundreds of songs and thousands of songs and projects. I'm like, how do you not run out of things to say? Like, this should be a point in time where you should be like, all right, I think I said everything I need to say. I think I can stop making music. Even producing, I'm like, how do you find more ways to make a beat? Like, even to now, like someone like, oh, yo, that beat is great. Like the what song just came out? The Metro Boomin song with Kendrick and Future. Like people like, yo, that beat crazy, and it's like, for me, that beat it's alright. but it's like now, people for people who's my age who's saying that beat is crazy, and I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, we had Dr. Dre growing up. We saw Kanye West growing up. We had 93 to Infinity. We had Ambitions as a rider. Like, those are crazy beats. And it's like, how do we, so I'm questioning myself, like, how, y'all can still find beats? But obviously, as I got older and learning about being creative and whatnot. But, so I thought that was, something that was just impossible to do. And then my cousins started doing it. And the first time I heard their music, they had their own CD on their mixtape. I'm like, oh, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is official. Like, this is a legit. Like, I'm holding a CD in my hand, because obviously streaming and all that digital stuff didn't really exist yet. So it was like, yeah, it's the old school, burn your music on a CD and hand them out, word of mouth stuff. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, they actually making music, and they actually have a CD. I'm thinking they 2 seconds away from being famous. So I'm like, I think I can do this if it was something that was always in my mind. Like, I always dabble with freestyling songs, or learning how to perform songs and mastering, rapping other people's songs and learning breath control and all of that. To the point where it's like, hey, now I was learning how to actually write a song and what to write about. How do you figure out how to write something? How do you make it not sound too direct, but also catchy and creative? So it's I'm not gonna sit there yeah, when I was 10 years old, I used to walk down the street kicking the rock and I was bored, and then I saw my friend. No, make that summarize all of that in one good line. It was just figuring out ways to do that, and then eventually I got to the point where I figured out how to do it. So for me, if I were to answer what is my dream job now, funny enough, I don't think I have a dream job, but oddly enough, I have a retired job in mind. I don't want to say it's my dream job. I feel like it's a retirement job. I always have this vision of owning some kind of restaurant, lounge, pub type place, something small, but a place where people can come and just chill. It's adult theme in terms of the drinks and whatnot, but in terms of food, everyone can come, and just something nice and small, but just cozy. It's just your second place when you don't feel like going home or whatever. It's just come here, bring a book or whatever, just chill, listen to some music, eat some good food, drink something good, and then go home. But I don't see myself doing that now, because I don't like talking to people. So I feel like that's something that's gonna happen when I'm much older and much more wiser, and I'm like, oh, I got experience with people. I can manage my emotions and whatnot better now that I'm older. But right now, I can't see myself doing it. So I stick to doing things like this where I can not entertain, but what's the word I'm looking for? Express myself, and not have to physically be up on people or talking to people directly. Like, even when people want to come on my podcast, like that's still not really a physical and face-to-face thing. I mean, it's possible, but most of my guests were all, we did on call or whatever. So I don't. As of right now, my dream job would have to be something in like the creative market, but also something where I don't have to be involved with people. But I don't know what that job would be. And I feel like the thing. I swear I don't. I talk about everything on my podcast, or I just mention things on my podcast, but I don't think I like strictly talked about it like in detail. But I'm sure I brought up the situation of my generation, or just I think I questioned it. I don't think it's a generation thing, but it might be an age thing where people feel like when they reach a certain age, they feel like they should have been somewhere at this point in time, and they start to feel like their life are already over. And it's like, bro, you're younger than me. Like, you still have so much you can do and so much things you can still work out. Like I said, like the fact that like I have my retirement job, quote unquote, like my job where I feel like when I'm much older, and like I would do that. And like you have time to do things you want to do, and like the thing is like, yeah, we're not promised tomorrow, but the point is to work towards your goal so you feel like you living your life fulfilled. Don't feel like you need to do something immediately. Work towards it. It's the feeling of working towards it that should give you like that boost of like you're not wasting your life. Like, everything you're doing right now is leading up to what you're gonna do in 10 years. So it's like life is not a waste, but it's like, oh, I just didn't get a chance to achieve it. Like, like you go to someone like Biggie, Big Pun, who, especially Big Pun, but Biggie, who like, he dropped his first album, he got to witness that. He dropped his second album, he got to witness it briefly, but he didn't get to see what it became, in terms of like, how much people really love the album. Big Pun, he dropped his first album, he made his second album, but he didn't get to see it drop. So for all he knows is, he only lives by that one album. And it's like, damn, I felt like the second album would have been better, and it may have been better in terms of like promotion wise if he was physically here to actually work it himself. And that's the whole difference between like, is it just your name of he died, so let's boost it up, compared to he's actually here. He doing a show, like he about to do a world tour on this second album, and it hypes it up even more. Like, he didn't get a chance to like fully flesh out what it is that he was working on. But even there's a rapper called Charisma. I don't know if y'all know about him. Charisma and Peanut Butter Wolf. Peanut Butter Wolf actually founded Stone's Throw Records, which is kind of it's a record label for mostly like, niche underground artists. But they were kind of a duo at the time. This is like early 90s, I believe. And he passed away in a botched robbery, and his music was never able to come out until Peanut Butter Wolf eventually worked towards making the record label where he was able to legally put the music out and distribute it in a public format. But the fact that he never got to witness that album ever come out, but it's the thing of you work towards it, it's not like you didn't live your life sulking like, oh, I should be doing this by now, and then God forbid something happens to you next day, and now you feel like your life was just complete waste. And it's like, nah, like you don't have to do things immediately. That's why I also question like there's a lot of people in my life. No, not to throw shade, but there's a lot of people in my life who know either younger than me or the same age as me, having kids and whatnot. And it's like, bro, like, like there's so much life and personal time that you kind of gave up on. Like, people feel like they learned. Like, people there's a lot of people who feel like they probably have learned enough about themselves and enjoyed themselves enough that they feel like they can give up that time. And then of course there's all people who just wanna grow old with their kids, quote unquote. Like, by the time they're 20, I'll be 50 type thing. That's still fairly young. So it's like you get to still witness all of that and still be in your youth in a sense. Some people don't want to feel like I'm old and now I'm just they think they think if they have a kid by like a good standard age that they feel like they're the grandparents by the time they get older, and it's like, chill. Like, nothing wrong with that, get old. But yeah, there's a lot of people who feel like they have to be in a rush and accomplish certain things and do certain things and do it quickly so that they feel like there's time for them to really do what they want to do. But it's like, nah, you forgetting that there's still those 18 years that you have to be there for this kid, and even that you will always still have to be there for that kid whenever they need you once they gone, like, on their own. So it's like, working towards your own dream and your own goal might be delayed. And like I said, for someone like me who do have an idea of, like, once I do get older, I do have an idea, so it's like I won't have to worry about, damn, I didn't live my life. Like there's something I want to do, but it's not right now. So I'll just, I'll keep doing the things that I enjoy now, but I'll keep that main goal in my head of once I'm like at the age where I feel like I've accomplished enough and I just want to, like, all right, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and just enjoy that. So I mean, yeah. And finding out what it is you really want to do, not only for yourself but for other people. I feel like that's also important in your dream job too. Like, obviously, because you're just finding a job just to, like, I got a job so I can just pay my bills and I can find a place to live and move out and do this and save up and go on trips and buy stuff. But I feel like doing a dream job I feel like you are making the decision to find this one job, not only because it's something that you truly, genuinely love doing, but whatever it is you're doing, you feel like it's gonna impact other people in a great way. Like, nothing wrong with, like, my idea of, like, hey, I just want to run a little restaurant, like, because I just want to be there. I want to give people a comfort space, because for me, I don't know any comfort spaces, like, around me. Like, I don't really go to much places, but even, like, the places that's around me, I don't see nothing that's like, oh, I can see myself just going in there and just hanging out in there. So I would like to create a place for people who wants to find, like, like, I want to get out the house more, but I just don't know where to go. I'm like, oh, there's this nice little chill spot that serves good food, and you could just listen to music and, read a book, whatever. They don't bother you. Like, you could just chill, like, but yeah. Yeah. So, my point, what I was saying, like, would you, like, I guess the feeling of being able to, I guess, yeah, like, bring comfort to other people, serve other people, make sure that they're good, they're comfortable in their life, give them that little, second home if they need it type feel. Depending on whatever your job is, or your goal is, like, hey, I want to do music because I really feel like my music can help a certain group of people who aren't really being represented in the music company or music business, and I feel like my music can do that. Like, it's not just about you. I feel like you have to think about who you selling yourself to, in a sense, like who, like, you're marketing to, who you working for, what I mean by who you working for, like, cause you can be self-employed, but who you working for in terms of, like, what you're selling, you're working for that person to buy your stuff. So yeah, like, I feel like there's a lot of things. Like I said again, what age is a good time to question when you should question what when you should find your dream job? What are you trying to fulfill for not only yourself but for the person who potentially going to be participating in your product? And also, what age do you feel like you should do it? Like, cause just because, like I said, I could think about my dream job now, but I see myself doing it in 20 years. So I have 20 years to work towards that. So I think those questions should be answered before you start pursuing your dream job. Like, people just feel like, man, I'm just stuck in this 9 to 5 job and I just want to do something that's fun. Like, start planning it, then start questioning yourself. Start, like, give yourself questions, tick off the boxes, and start going towards it. Like, it's no point in, like, sitting there and wallowing that you're not where you're supposed to be. Like, you are where you're supposed to be, but because it's helping you get somewhere and it's helping you frame your mind. Because if you were in a job that you would like, if you were in a job that you wasn't planning on like getting, but once you got in, you're like, oh, I actually genuinely enjoy doing this job, and then you just forget about your dream job, like what it is you really want to do because you got comfortable in this job. Like, yeah, maybe that stress of that job is gonna help you. Like, you realize that this is what you don't want. So now it gives you the motivation and the drive to like, all right, what is it that I really want? Because it's not this. So it's nothing wrong with being in your struggle job, quote unquote, like your typical 9 to 5 or whatever it is you're doing that you don't like, because it's helping you frame your mind and helping you build your strength so you can actually go out and do it, get you the motivation, the drive to do it. And again, like I said, along with those questions that you ask yourself so you can start working towards your goal. It doesn't have to be a race. You just operate when you can. And once once everything starts falling in line for you. But that's about it. I don't know what much more I can say about it. So yeah, finding your dream job, it's not a race. You find it if you really are going for it. And yeah, because that's life. It's the experience of life. We here to do something. Our plan is to figure out why we here, do it, feel satisfaction in what we done, and then move on. Like, again, when I mentioned Akira Toriyama, my last episode, like I said, like I don't mourn his death in a sad way, because I feel like he did what he I don't know how to say what he had to, I don't want to say what he had to do, what he needed to do, but he did what felt right to him. Like, I wanted to make this art, and my art brought me from influencing generations on generations of kids and adults, and from different media aspects, from different pop culture reference, like the amount of times Dragon Ball Z stuff was referenced in other form of media. He did that. Like, there's nothing. I saw this video on the thumbnail, and it was like, damn, it was like, oh, another guy gone too soon. I'm like, I don't think he was gone too soon. I think he was gone because it was his time. Like, what more did you need him to do? Like, I felt like he did everything. Like, it becomes a point where you becoming selfish. You're like, I need you here forever to do this for me. Like, nah, man, he did it. He already did it. Like, you grew up with it. Now your job is to carry on his work and his legacy. When you have kids, hey, this amazing show I grew up on, man, it was great and changed my life. It changed the generations of millions of people, and I want to share this with you. And then you and your child have a bonding moment. That's it. Like, just carry it on. Continue the cycle until the next thing that someone else, like, the people who look at older work for One Piece the same way that some of us look at Dragon Ball Z like this, there are people who doing that too. Like, there's no need to be like possessive over certain people and whatnot. Like, time comes for everyone. But so while you're here, figure out what it is you want to do, and start working towards it. And God forbid if you can't achieve it before your time comes, at least you had that feeling of that you was working towards it, you wasn't wasting your life around. Like you did have a plan. You were grinding and working towards that plan. But yeah. So with that being said, let me get into my question of the day, which I did not write because I did not know how far I would go into this conversation. But if I can see if I could think of something off my head, because I'm kind of getting a headache right now. My head hurts. But dream job question. I guess for people who are, older in age, not, like my age or whatever, what was your dream job as a kid, if you remember it? And what is your dream job now? Did your dream job change from when you was a kid to now? Or if you still figuring out what your dream job is. But yeah, and again, like I said, YouTube video, just search Relaxing Thoughts Podcast. Hopefully it should pop up because there's a lot of relaxing stuff that will just pop up. And hopefully it pop up, and so you can subscribe so you won't lose it. And go to the video section of this podcast episode, and you could type your answer in this, or you can just say whatever. If you want to also give me any recommendation of things I should talk about, if I'm able to talk about it. I don't talk about things just to talk about them. Like, I talk about things because I also personally think about these things or deal with these things as well. Or if you also want to appear on this podcast, I got no problem having guests. I have guests before. Some were friends, some were people I don't know that I end up having friendships with. So yeah. So until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to share it, rate it, all that good stuff. And until next time, have a great day and a great week. Peace.